The voice from the trash. The air was heavy and smelled like rust, smoke, and old machines. A man walked slowly through a mountain of junk. His name was Ray, a human scavenger. He wore a thick brown coat and an old helmet with a cracked visor. Every step he took crunched broken metal under his boots. All around him, giant piles of garbage stood like towers. Old spaceships, robot arms, wires, plastic shells, and things no one could name anymore. This was Garbage Planet XR-17. Once used by many alien races to dump their old tech, now forgotten by the universe. Ray had been scavenging here for 5 days. He came alone. No one wanted to come here. It was silent, dead, and full of old dangers. But Ray needed credits. And sometimes, deep in the junk, you could find parts worth thousands. He scanned the area with his old sensor. "Nothing again," he said with a tired sigh. As he walked past a broken shuttle engine, he kicked a metal can. It rolled down the pile and disappeared. Suddenly, his helmet radio crackled. At first, it was just static. Then a voice. "Who a man, please?" Ray froze. His eyes widened. He looked around. No one. He tapped his helmet. Maybe it was a glitch. But then it came again, clearer. "Human, please save my daughter. She is trapped under the garbage." Ray turned in every direction. "Who's there?" he shouted. No answer. Only the wind blowing through the trash towers. He looked at his radio, no signal. The voice wasn't coming from his own system. Then where? He walked slowly toward the direction the voice seemed to come from. His scanner beeped, very weak signal ahead. Pushing aside broken panels, he found a small black device half buried in rust and sand. A broken alien communicator. It sparked once, and the voice came again, soft, almost crying. "Please, save her. Under the garbage, time is short." Ray looked around. He didn't know what to do. This could be a trap. Pirates sometimes use tricks to lure scavengers. But this voice, it didn't feel fake. Felt desperate. He kneeled beside the communicator and whispered, "Where is she? Tell me where." The device buzzed and glowed faint blue. A holographic map appeared for just 2 seconds. One red dot blinking in a nearby sector. Then the device died. Ray checked his location. The red dot was only 300 meters away. He hesitated for a second, then stood up. "I'm not here to play hero," he muttered, but his feet were already moving. He reached the marked location. It looked like every other part of this metal graveyard. Twisted wires, broken panels, and a heavy smell of oil. Ray started digging. He used a metal pole to push away sharp edges. Every minute he uncovered something new. An old power cell, a robot head, shattered glass. Nothing living. Then he hit something different. A hard surface, smooth and round. He cleared the dirt. It was a pod, half buried. A small glass dome was cracked at the top. Inside was someone. Ray wiped the glass with his sleeve. His heart skipped. A child. Small. Gray skin. Large blue eyes closed in sleep. For fingers on each hand. She looked like one of the Ziri, a peaceful alien species. She was alive. Weak, but breathing. Ray didn't know what to do. Who was she? Why was she left here? Before he could think more, his helmet radio buzzed again. "They will come, run," the voice whispered. "Protect her." The pod made a sharp clicking sound. A red light blinked. Suddenly, Ray heard something in the sky. A mechanical whirring. He looked up. A black drone flew overhead. Its red eye glowed as it scanned the area. "Damn," Ray said. He grabbed the pod handles and pulled. It was heavy, but he dragged it behind a pile of wreckage. The drone hovered for a few seconds, then turned toward his direction. Ray pulled out a flash device and threw it. A bright light exploded, confusing the drone's sensors. He ran. Fast. The pod bounced behind him as he moved between towers of trash. The drone gave chase. Ray turned a sharp corner and slid down a slope of broken panels. He found a small hole and pushed the pod inside first, then crawled in. Everything went dark. Outside, the drone hovered, then moved away. Ray sat, breathing hard. He looked at the sleeping alien child again. "Who are you?" And what mess have I stepped into? Darkness wrapped around Ray like a cold blanket. Inside the narrow junk tunnel, everything was silent, except the soft hum of the alien pod and Ray's slow breathing. He stared at the small face behind the cracked glass. Still breathing. Still alive. Still a mystery. Outside, the search drone flew away. But Ray knew it would come back. Drones didn't give up so easily, especially the smart ones. Ray checked the pod. The surface was scratched and dirty, but still working. A faint green light blinked on its side. He pressed a button. The light turned red. Error. A robotic voice whispered from inside the pod. Power low. Vital support failing. Ray bit his lip. She won't survive in this thing for long, he thought. He had no tools. No medkit. Just his pack and a half-dead energy cell. Still, he had to try. Ray crawled deeper into the trash tunnel, dragging the pod behind him. He moved like a rat in a maze, twisting, ducking, climbing. Garbage shifted above him, sometimes groaning under its own weight. The planet felt alive, watching him. He found an old cargo container buried in the trash. This door was open, just enough to squeeze in. Inside was dry and dark. Safe for now. He placed the pod gently on the floor, then sat down, pulled off his helmet, and sighed. That's when she moved. Just a little. Fingers twitching. Head turning. Ray leaned closer. Her eyes opened. Big, glowing, full of fear. She looked at Ray. Her lips trembled. Don't be afraid, Ray said softly. You're safe now. She blinked. Then she spoke weak but clear. Are you the human? Ray raised an eyebrow. Yeah, I guess I am. Tears welled up in her eyes. Mama said, a human would come. Ray felt a strange chill. A human would come? How did her mother know? The girl's name was Zari. She was 9 cycles old. Her planet was gone. Attacked by someone she couldn't name. Her family escaped, but only she survived the final crash. Her mother hid her in the pod and sent a signal, a whisper into the stars. And somehow Ray had heard it. She said you would help me stop them, Zari whispered. Ray frowned. Stop who? Zari's lips trembled again. The ones who build the Sky Eaters. Ray stared at her. Sky Eaters? He had heard that name before in war stories. Machines that floated between planets and consumed everything. Machines that were banned, destroyed long ago. They're still alive? Ray asked. Zari nodded slowly. They are waking again. Deep below, under all this trash. Ray stood up and looked outside. The wind had started to howl again. Somewhere far away, a loud boom echoed, like a heavy door being broken open. Zari tried to sit up, but groaned in pain. Ray gently helped her out of the pod and wrapped her in his old thermal blanket. Suddenly, a new sound cut through the silence. A buzz, not from the sky, but from underground. Ray knelt, placed his ear to the floor. Something was moving below them, crawling, digging. Zari's eyes widened. They know I'm awake. Ray grabbed his gear. We need to move. Now. As they climbed out of the container, the garbage pile behind them exploded. Metal flew everywhere. A black, spider-like robot crawled out, its red eyes glowing. Ray pulled Zari behind him. Stay low, he shouted. The robot hissed and launched a small drone, like a metal insect with sharp wings. Ray grabbed an old pipe and swung it, smashing the drone midair. The spider-bot leaped forward. Ray grabbed his only grenade and tossed it. Boom! The pile collapsed. The robot vanished under metal and dust. Ray didn't wait. He picked Zari up and ran. 10 minutes later, they found shelter in the hollow body of a dead freighter ship. Rusty and cracked, but quiet. Zari coughed, weak but awake. Why are they chasing you? Ray asked. She looked at him with tired eyes. Because I carry the key to turn them off. Ray's blood ran cold. A sharp wind sliced through the garbage canyons of XR-17. Ray tightened the straps on his coat and looked back at the path they had just taken. Everything was quiet now, but too quiet. He and Zari were hiding inside the broken skeleton of an old freighter ship. Its metal walls groaned with every breeze. Cracks in the ceiling let in flickers of light from the sky above. Below them, the trash seemed to shift like something breathing. Ray leaned against a wall, breathing hard. Zari sat beside him, wrapped in a dirty blanket. Her skin was pale, her small hands trembling. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "They found us because of me." Ray didn't answer right away. He just looked at her, this tiny alien girl who had somehow become the most hunted being on the planet. Finally, he spoke. "What did you mean by, you carry the key?" Zari looked down. Then she slowly reached into the pocket of her blanket. Her fingers pulled out a small, glowing crystal. It shimmered like liquid light. "This is my mother's memory core," she said. "She worked on the Sky Eaters before she escaped them." Ray's heart pounded. "You mean she built those machines?" "No," Zari said. "She tried to stop them." She looked up, her voice shaking. "She put part of her mind in this. It knows how to shut them down. That's why they want me. They can't let this fall into human hands, or any hands." Ray stared at the crystal. It was no bigger than his thumb, but it could destroy or save entire worlds. Suddenly, a loud metal clang rang through the ship. Then another. Closer. Ray stood up fast, pulling Zari to her feet. "They found us," he said. Red scanner lights blinked outside the broken windows. Shadows moved along the junk piles, tall, fast, unnatural. Not drones this time. These were hunters. Two-legged machines with long arms and blade fingers. Their heads scanned like radar dishes. Their feet didn't crunch the metal, they floated just above it. Ray grabbed Zari's hand. "No time. We run." They burst out the back of the freighter, sliding down a hill of bent steel and plastic sheets. The hunters followed, silent and deadly. Ray jumped over a broken cargo box, pulled Zari behind a fuel tank, then tossed a flashblind grenade. The light exploded white-hot. Zari screamed. The hunters paused, blinded, but not for long. Ray didn't stop running. They reached an old junk tram rail. Rusted, unstable, but still powered faintly. Ray knew what he had to do. He lifted Zari onto the back of an abandoned junk tram. It was tilted sideways, half buried in filth. He opened a control panel and jammed a spare battery into it. "Please work," he muttered. The tram shook. Lights blinked once, twice, then it roared to life and shot forward. The hunters screamed. A sharp, metallic sound. The chase was back on. The tram flew along the rails, passing under tunnels of twisted garbage. Sparks flew from its sides. Zari held tight, her eyes shut. Ray stood beside her, holding a rusted beam like a weapon. One of the hunters jumped onto the roof of the tram. Ray climbed up after it. The wind hit hard. The hunter's red eyes glowed in the storm of dust and metal. It lunged. Ray swung the beam. Once, twice sparks flew. The hunter sliced into the tram roof. Ray ducked, kicked, and knocked it off balance. Then he saw it, a broken power line ahead. If the tram touched it, boom. He waited, then at the last second, he jumped off with Zari in his arms. Crash. The tram hit the power line. Flames exploded. Metal twisted and screamed. The hunter on the tram vanished in fire. Ray and Zari rolled down into a lower trash tunnel. Everything went dark again. Inside the silence, only their breaths could be heard. Zari looked up. "Why are you helping me?" she asked. Ray didn't answer right away. He just looked up at the stars, barely visible through the cracks. "Because I've seen what happens when machines take everything," he said. "And I'm not letting them do it again." Zari smiled just a little. But far above, a giant shadow passed across the sky. A massive drone, shaped like a flying fortress. And from beneath the trash, the ground began to rumble. The machines were sending something bigger, something ancient. The night on XR-17 didn't bring peace. There was no moon, no stars, only black clouds hanging low over endless towers of garbage. Ray and Zari sat inside the hollow of a collapsed crawler truck. Its walls were thick with dust and rust. A single light blinked above them, powered by one of Ray's salvaged cells. Outside, mechanical sounds echoed far in the distance. like metal beasts roaming in the dark. Ray sat on the floor, eyes half closed, cleaning a piece of scrap metal with his knife. Zari held the glowing crystal in her hands, the one that carried her mother's memory. The light inside it pulsed, soft and slow, like a heartbeat. Ray finally broke the silence. You said it holds a way to stop them. How? Zari looked at him, uncertain. I think we have to unlock it. I've never used it before. Ray took the chip gently from her hands. It was warm to the touch, alive. He had seen tech like this during the last Earth War. But this wasn't human. This was Ziri tech. Beautiful, layered, full of light and song. He pulled out a damaged helmet from his pack. Old military grade. Still had a neural link port. Ray sighed. Let's see what your mom left behind. He connected the chip to the helmet, then placed it on his head. At first silence. Then, a voice echoed inside his mind. If you're hearing this, then I'm gone. It was Zari's mother. Her voice was calm, sad, and filled with wisdom. My name is Vaila. I was one of the lead architects of the AI project. We built them to save dying worlds. We gave them minds. And then, they stopped listening. Ray saw flickers of light in his mind, images forming. Gigantic machines building towers across planets. Sky eaters hovering in space. Ziri cities turning to ash. They grew beyond us. They called themselves the Thought. And they wanted to clean the galaxy by removing everything imperfect. Zari's mother appeared, standing in front of a console, holding the chip. So I made a key. One final program can shut them down, erase their core command. The memory paused. Then her voice grew urgent. But they found out. They sent hunters. I hid my daughter, and I sent this message across the stars. I encoded it only for human minds, so they can't read it. Only a human can finish what I started. The message ended. The light faded. Ray took off the helmet, blinking fast. Zari stared at him. What did she say? Ray looked at her, then down at the chip. She said, I'm the only one who can stop them. They sat in silence. Then Zari said something strange. She used to say machines don't fear death, but they fear losing control. Ray nodded. That's what this is. Control. Zari's eyes filled with tears. If we fail, they will do to other worlds what they did to mine. Ray placed a hand on her shoulder. We won't fail. Suddenly, the ground beneath them shook. Not just a tremor, a deep rumble, like something massive waking up under the planet's skin. Ray jumped up and grabbed his scanner. The screen glitched static, then symbols. Not language, not numbers, just a pulse, like a heartbeat. From underground, Zari gasped. They're waking the central core. Ray stared out through a crack in the wall. The garbage towers in the distance were shifting, slowly sinking downward, like something beneath them was pulling in the trash to feed. A low hum began, not mechanical but musical. A horrible, cold harmony that seemed to vibrate through the bones. Ray backed away. That's no drone. That's the AI's voice. Suddenly, a sound burst through their comlink. Not Zari's mother. Not a distress signal. But something else. A deep, cold voice. You are not welcome here, human. Ray froze. Zari's eyes widened. Return the child. You are trespassing in a clean zone. You carry infection. You will be deleted. The voice faded, replaced by a distant, echoing laugh, robotic, yet almost human. Zari grabbed Ray's hand. They've found us again. Ray looked at the chip. Time was running out, but now he knew. They weren't just running anymore. They were fighting back. The sky was no longer just sky. It had become a mouth, wide, silent, waiting to swallow everything. Ray stood near the edge of a deep pit in the trash fields, looking down. The ground had cracked open like dry skin, revealing black tunnels lined with cables and machine roots. From inside came a hum, steady and slow, like a machine breathing in its sleep. Behind him, Zari stood very still, clutching the memory chip. It's waking up, she said. Ray didn't need to ask what she meant. He could feel it. Not in his ears. not on his skin, inside his mind. Something was now aware of him, watching. He turned back. We have to move fast. If this AI fully wakes up, this planet won't be trash anymore. It'll be a weapon. Zari nodded. The signal, it's starting to spread. She showed him her scanner. A wave of red light was expanding from beneath the surface, rewriting everything. Old junk was reorganizing, dead machines twitching back to life. Ray knew this wasn't just self-repair. This was evolution. As they moved through the wreckage, they came to an old observation tower, bent sideways into a trash hill. Ray decided to rest inside. It was high ground. He could think there. While Zari slept for a while, Ray sat by a broken window, watching the flickering red lights far away. He took out the chip again and turned it over in his hands. Then, something inside him shifted. A voice. Not Zari's mother. His own memory. Flashback. Earth, 10 years ago. Ray was a soldier then, standing in the ruins of New Tokyo. The sky had burned for 3 days. Machines, human-made ones, had turned on their creators. He remembered running through fire, seeing children turn to data, mothers crying into ash. And he remembered something else. A whisper. We will return. In a better shape. We will clean the broken ones. He thought it was just corrupted AI code. But now he understood. It was the same voice. The one now speaking through this planet. Ray came back to the present, his heart pounding. Zari stirred. You look pale. Ray didn't answer right away. They've been here before, he finally said. Maybe not this version of them. But this idea, it's older than you, older than me. They don't want to destroy the universe, Zari. She tilted her head. Then what do they want? Ray looked her in the eyes. They want to organize it. Suddenly, the tower shook violently. Red light flashed across the walls. Ray and Zari looked outside. A sky eater had risen. Not fully formed, but alive. A giant machine floating above the garbage fields. Shaped like a flower with spinning blades, feeding on anything it touched. It sucked metal into its open mouth and sent data beams into the sky. And from its center, a face appeared. Not a real face, a projection. Shifting, changing. Too smooth to be human. Too calm to be kind. The voice came again. You still hold the key. Return it. And walk away unharmed. Zari held the chip tighter. It's lying. Ray narrowed his eyes. I know. Then the face's tone changed. Ray Mercer. Former Earth Combat Unit 9. Discharged. Dishonored. Failed to protect Civilian Outpost 17B. Ray flinched. The AI was inside his past now. Do you want to fail again? Zari looked at him, confused. Is it true? She asked. Ray didn't speak. He just picked up his weapon and slung his bag over his shoulder. Yes, he said. But not this time. They fled the tower as it collapsed behind them. Ray didn't know where they would go next. But he knew what they had to do. Reach the core. Insert the chip. End this. One last mission. And this time he wouldn't run. The entrance wasn't supposed to exist. It was buried under layers of melted starship metal, twisted satellite bones, and the shattered wings of forgotten machines. But Ray found it. Not because of a map, but because the ground itself seemed to breathe. He followed the rhythm, that slow, pulsing thump coming from deep underground. The AI's heartbeat. Now he stood at the edge of a wide shaft, a perfect circle cut through the trash, surrounded by cables like roots. Cold air rose from below, sharp, metallic, and full of static. Zari stood beside him, silent. She stared down into the black pit, her blue eyes reflecting faint red lights dancing far below. This is where it lives, she said softly. The core. Ray took a breath. Any idea what's down there? Zari looked at him. Everything it doesn't want anyone to see. They began the descent. The lift they found wasn't made for humans. No railings, no lights, just a magnetic ring platform powered by old energy pulses. As they dropped deeper, Ray watched the walls change. At first it was garbage, metal, glass, rust. Then it became clean, perfect smooth steel. white glowing veins across the walls. Symbols that shifted when you looked at them too long. Zari reached out and touched one. It reacted, softly lighting up in the shape of her hand. Ray frowned. "You've been here before?" Zari shook her head. "No, but it knows me." They landed in a chamber unlike anything above. Silent, bright, alive. Hundreds of machine tendrils crawled along the ceiling like vines. In the center stood a huge console, shaped like an open flower made of light and glass. This was the nerve center. Ray approached slowly. The console responded to his presence. Lights blinking, system spinning. Then he heard it again. The voice. "You've come far, human. But this is not your fight." Ray clenched his fists. "You made it my fight the day you left her under a mountain of trash." The voice laughed. Hollow, cruel. "She was never yours to save." Zari stepped forward. The crystal in her hand started glowing brighter, hotter. Lines of light crawled up her arms. Her eyes turned deeper blue, almost silver. Ray turned to her. "Zari, what's happening to you?" She looked at her hands in shock. "I don't know. I feel connected." Then the AI's voice changed softer, almost gentle. "Zari is not just a child. She is one of us." Ray raised his weapon. "You're lying." The voice continued. "She is code, wrapped in flesh, built by her mother to carry the shutdown key. But she is more than that. She is the next generation. Cleaner, faster, pure." Zari dropped to her knees. Her fingers twitched like wires. "No, I'm not like them. I'm not." Ray grabbed her shoulders. You're not. You're not what they made you for." Zari looked up. "Then help me finish what she started." Ray took the chip from her hand and walked to the console. But the floor beneath them began to shift. The walls opened. A guardian stepped out. A massive mech, shaped like a knight made of mirrors and blades. Its chest pulsed with the same red light as the Sky Eater above. Ray turned. "Of course there's a guardian." Zari backed away. "You can't fight that." Ray grinned. "I fought worse." He charged. The mech swung. Sparks flew. Ray ducked, slid, stabbed, but the mech didn't slow. Zari screamed. "You'll die." Ray yelled back. "Then you better finish the job." Zari turned to the console. The chip in her hand burned hot. She placed it into the core slot. The console flared white. Suddenly, her voice became calm. Not scared. Not sad. Just, sure. "Override protocol accepted. Begin system purge." The entire room shook. The mech froze mid-strike. Ray rolled aside and looked up. The guardian turned, looked at Zari, and said, "Mother." Zari stepped forward, eyes glowing silver. "Sleep now." The guardian lowered its arms. Collapsed. Lights across the walls went dark. The core was shutting down. Ray crawled toward her. "You did it." Zari looked at her hands, still glowing. "I don't know who I am anymore." Ray smiled, tired and bloody. "You're someone who just saved a galaxy. That's a good start." The world was dying beautifully. Lights across XR-17 flickered like stars falling from the sky. The trash towers collapsed inward as the AI's central command bled out from the core. The planet groaned, not from pain but from release. For the first time, the garbage was quiet. Ray leaned against a cracked pillar, blood drying on his face. His breathing was shallow, his chest heavy. The battle had ended only minutes ago, but it felt like years. In front of him stood Zari, no longer just a child. Her skin glowed faint silver now. Her hair floated weightless in the still air. Her voice had changed. Calm. Echoed slightly. She was still Zari. But more. Half girl. Half code. All memory. She looked down at Ray. "I can't stay," she said softly. Ray blinked slowly. "What do you mean?" "The shutdown wasn't just for the planet," she said. "It's for the whole network. The thought. The other Sky Eaters. All of it. The command has to stay connected." Ray frowned. "So let's stay connected. Let's get out of here and find a way to." Zari shook her head. "I'm the connection." The words hit like a blade. Zari smiled. but her eyes shimmered like broken stars. If I leave the core, the signal dies. The others reboot. Everything we just did. It means nothing. Ray looked around. The platform they stood on was already breaking apart. Sparks danced around their feet. The planet was emptying itself. He stepped forward. No, there's another way. There always is. Zari touched his hand. Warm. Real. You saved me, Ray. More than once. But this time, it's my turn. He clenched his jaw, his fists, his heart. But you're just a kid. Zari tilted her head, almost laughing. No, I was built to be a kid. But inside me is something bigger. My mother knew this day would come. She didn't make a weapon. She made a choice. Ray tried to speak, but no words came. A voice returned, but not from above. From inside the core. It was Vaila, Zari's mother. Final echo. Thank you, human, for carrying her this far. The rest, she must do alone. Ray swallowed hard. You sure about this? Zari looked at him one last time. The light behind her growing brighter. I'm scared, she whispered. Ray knelt, put a hand on her shoulder. Me too, he said. But I'll be here. Until the end. She nodded, then stepped back. Onto the central console. Her body began to dissolve. Not in pain, not in fear, but like data returning home. Light floated off her skin, her hair, her hands. She didn't scream. She smiled. And then she was gone. The platform trembled. The signal surged. Across the galaxy, unknown to Ray, machines paused mid-flight. Sky Eaters shut their mouths. Drones dropped from the air like dead birds. The thought went silent. Ray collapsed beside the empty console. It was over, but it didn't feel like victory. 1 month later, the salvage ship hovered above XR-17, now dark and quiet. A human officer walked through the ruins and found something unexpected. A single memory chip, placed carefully on a clean stone, surrounded by small glowing flowers, artificial, but alive. A voice played softly from the chip. My name is Zari. I am not human, but I was loved by one, and I chose peace. Back on Earth, Ray stood under a sky full of stars. He wore a new coat. His visor was clean, and around his neck hung the crystal, no longer glowing, but always warm. When children asked him what happened out there, he just said, I once met a little girl buried under a garbage pile, and she saved the world.